Weather in a moment, but first, tonight we are learning more about the new COVID-related guidelines for schools. The Texas Education Agency released them yesterday.
Yeah, one state school official now responding to that message. And as Channel 5's Cassandra Garcia reports, he's not on board with the recommendations and says more needs to be done.
New public health guidelines for public schools released by the TEA, with many districts in the valley preparing to open in the next 2 weeks. These guidelines state that schools are required to notify local health departments if a student tests positive for COVID-19. Schools are also required to submit a report to the Texas Department of State Health Services if any student, employee, or visitor tests positive for COVID-19. However, the document also says that because of lower transmission rates among children compared to adults, schools are not required to contact trace. Although that recommendation is based on data collected before the emergence of the Delta variant. Texas Board of Education member Ruben Cortez tells us he's not happy about the guidelines. He says he's worried about students.
There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of anxiety, even from our school officials in the state of Texas, down here in the valley, across the coastal bend.
He believes that the TEA released these guidelines now since they have received so much pushback from school districts about Governor Abbott's ban on mask mandates in schools.
They're being released now because they've received so many petitions, so many letters, and that they're basically putting their foot down and saying no.
The guidelines also say that schools are encouraged but not required to notify parents if their child was exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. It also allows for up to 20 days of online learning for any student who tests positive or is exposed to COVID. But Cortez believes more needs to be done in each school district to ensure that the virus doesn't spread.
If they're following the guidelines as they're presented and not adding additional measures, then it could lead to some scary situations for families all across the state of Texas.
Cortez says that in the coming days, he will be speaking to superintendents in the valley to get their thoughts and concerns on the issue and see what else he can do. Cassandra Garcia, Channel 5 News at 10.